that here in the States anyway, we like to call it a midlife crisis. And I contend there is no such thing as a midlife crisis. There is a midlife revolution. There is a midlife awakening. There is a midlife awareness of how did I end up here? Like half of my life is gone. And I might not regret much, or maybe not regret anything, but I'm not sure that this is the life I want to lead, or that this is the person with whom I want to stay for the next 10, 20 years, or even for the next month. You just don't know sometimes until you know. And there's nothing like a quarantine to really put you face to face with the things that you don't want to face. It's been a really interesting phenomenon. Therapists report record high phone calls. They had people calling them that they hadn't heard from in literally years, but had saved that counselor's number and was now calling them in the middle of the quarantine saying, I don't know how we're going to do this. I'm trapped with my husband, or I'm trapped with my wife and my kids and my in-laws or whatever. And it's hard, but it's good because discomfort leads to growth. So it's really okay, you know, we just need to embrace it for the opportunity that it is. So I'm at this point really supporting people in that midlife phase, though I have clients in their 30s. I had one client in his 20s. I can do that. But I've just found that I'm really being guided to people and who are coming to me in this 40 plus age range, where this COVID situation has again intersected with the midlife phenomenon of sudden shifting and wondering and unrest. All right, so today I wanted to do sort of a continuation of yesterday's outline of like what I just said, this midlife rumbling, which I described in my own experience at 45. Truly, it felt like an inner revolution. I just kind of had a rebellion. I had an uprising in me. My authentic self, my real self, my soul said, it is time to reclaim your territory. And it took me a while to figure out what that meant and what that looked like for me. It means something different for everyone. It looks different for everyone. We lead really different lives, and yet they're also very similar, right? It's just so interesting to me how different and how the same we all are as we traverse this thing called life or reality. Sometimes I really question, you know, what's real and what we've made up. So if you find yourself in this place where you actually kind of are toying with the idea of stepping out of the lines, of challenging the role that everyone now casts you in, right? You're mom central, you're the wife that covers everything. If possibly you're a man watching, you're the dad, the guy, you handle everything, or this is what he does, and this is his job. And, you know, the women have their job. And if you're single, it could be that you're in a place of a real career crisis where you're young enough to start something new, but you feel kind of old to do that. And you fear being judged by everyone around you. You know, why would you blow up a perfectly good setup that you have? You know, they really value you at that firm or that place. Why would you screw that up? Just stay put. Be grateful you have what you have. And yeah, these are speeches that I've had presented to me and that I've heard other people inflict on others, because don't we know best for everyone else? It's a thing we do. But if you find yourself in that place, I'm supporting you to entertain it, to not shut that voice down. Don't try to run from it, to exercise it away, to drink it away, eat it away, you know, have a bunch of relationships to distract yourself, to work it away. Let yourself feel the unrest. Just let yourself feel the disconnect from who you think you are or who you've thought you are for all of these years. That person you sort of invented, to get this far, which is often comprised of a lot of survival mechanisms stemming from childhood. That's really what we kind of get taught to do, is survive. And whatever you need to do to get what you need, to manipulate things as you can, do that, as opposed to let life flow. Show up as yourself, warts and all, and trust the universe, God, spirit, however you visualize a higher spiritual realm. It doesn't matter how you see it, how you experience it, as long as it is a positive influence and it encourages and supports compassion and empathy for yourself and others. That's really the only requirement that I kind of feel around having a spiritual life. And some people really need to assign, a figure to that. And that's fine. And then others of us were really comfortable with just an energetic kind of presence. Like, pick what works for you and settles in you. We're taught to not trust what we can't see. And so this is kind of part of what feeds into feeling so out of control. If you are in a phase of wondering and of reassessing and worrying, what does this mean? And am I a bad person for wanting to kind of step out of this? All right, so let's kind of talk about what that means to reclaim the territory of you. Here's what's so interesting. We get in this place, right, where we get this feeling that I just described. Like, this just doesn't fit anymore. This life doesn't really feel like it fits me anymore. What am I going to do? Yesterday I used the analogy of a shoe, shoes that are too tight, and they get very painful very quickly, and eventually you have to take them off. So this is kind of the feeling that you can ascribe to how you feel sometimes in this 40 plus range of wanting to change some things up. So then we're all kind of unsettled and worried about what's going on. And then we very quickly slide into guilt, especially if you're a parent. There's something about, as parents, we're supposed to just sacrifice ourselves. We're supposed to fall on our swords without question. And wanting something for ourselves is very quickly labeled as selfish. And if it doesn't directly and very obviously benefit the kids, then you're just a bad person. You're a bad parent. And honestly, it turns into a really convenient excuse. It's like, oh, I can't do that to the kids. I've used it myself. And it's just something to be aware of. So you have that at play, is the guilt. And then, of course, if you're with a partner, a spouse, we can play all kinds of games around, well, I can't do that to him or her. I can't go trying to change things up now. And my God, we're adults. We're in our 40s. We're in our 50s, our 60s, whatever age range. At this age, you just stay put. You don't rock the boat. You don't stir the pot. Just, get over yourself and find a hobby or something. And we try so hard to force ourselves into that shoe. So then there's the guilt. And then we very conveniently slide into confusion. And I say convenient because confusion is a really beautiful way to avoid making a decision. How many people do we know who have come to us and claimed confusion about whether or not they should quit a job or leave a relationship? I just don't know what to do. I'm just so confused. Done it myself. Here's the really fascinating part. Actually, and maybe ironically, when we feel or think we feel the most confused is when we're the most clear. Sounds weird, right? But here's how this works. Confusion, again, it's a wonderful cover. It's the smoke screen. And what it does is protects us from having to make a choice. And then if we don't make any choices or new decisions, then we're safe. And then we stay in the same place, which means safety. And the thing that motivates all of this, of course, is fear. Fear is incredibly powerful. And fear is very much fed by our egos. And by ego, I don't mean in the way of egotistical people, saying I'm so pretty or I'm the best. Not that kind of ego. I'm talking ego, capital E, our lizard brain, if you will. It's our most primal aspect. And its job, just like back in the caveman days, is to keep us safe, right? So you have this aspect of yourself that is run by the idea that change is bad. Any kind of changing the status quo is bad because it'll change things and it'll make it unsafe. Like this is the narrative that's going on in the back of our psyches. And it's not all bad because the ego can protect us, right? Some things really should be feared and some things should be avoided, definitely. But when it comes to the emotional aspects of our lives, to things that affect our day-to-day well-being in terms of jobs, family, ways of being in the world, the ego can actually cripple us because what the end story is that we're like talked into staying small, staying constricted, and believing the story that means we'll be safe and we're doing the right thing. And then we won't lose any friends and we won't disappoint people. And isn't that just really what we're here to do, is to just keep everything the same? No, we are actually here to change and challenge ourselves and grow and expand. Life is supposed to be an expansive experience. We forget that because we fall into that fear trap. So here we are at this kind of vulnerable age. Midlife kind of reminds me of puberty because it's such a vulnerable time, right? Where we're trying to figure out who we are. And here we are in our 40s, 50s, trying to kind of figure out who we've become.